My mother kicked me and my kids out of Christmas dinner right after I spent $22,000 this year to support them. She claimed my sister deserved it more and slammed the door shut. So, I canceled their mortgage, truck loan, and all other payments. The snowstorm took care of the rest. Hey, Reddit. Christmas dinner was meant to be simple, or so my mom said when she invited us. Just a quiet gathering with family. After everything we'd been through this year, I wanted to believe her. Maybe I needed to believe her because I felt worn out in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I hadn't shared with anyone how close I was to a breaking point. I arrived with my kids just as the sun set, the sky turning that dull winter gray that makes everything feel heavier. Snow had already begun to fall, thick flakes that clung to coats and eyelashes. My kids were thrilled, their cheeks rosy from the cold, boots crunching happily on the driveway. They didn't notice how tense I was or what this year had cost me. $22,000. That number lingered in my mind because saying it out loud made it too real. $22,000 spent quietly keeping my parents afloat. Mortgage payments, utility bills marked final notice, truck loan payments when my dad asked just this once, groceries when the fridge was nearly empty. I never sent money directly to my sister. I sent it to my parents because they claimed they needed help, and I helped time and again. Inside, the house was warm and smelled of roast meat and cinnamon. Christmas lights twinkled softly in every corner, blinking cheerfully, almost mockingly. My kids shrugged off their coats, immediately heading to the living room where their toys from past holidays still lay. They were polite, perhaps too polite, saying hello, offering to help, asking if they could sit down. I observed them closely. When kids sense tension, they try to earn safety. Dinner started off fine. Conversations remained superficial. Weather, traffic, how tough this year had been. My sister arrived late as usual, with no casserole, no gifts, and no apology. She dropped her purse on a chair and sighed dramatically. I can't believe I survived this year. My mom rushed to her side. You've been through so much, sweetheart. I stared at my plate, reminding myself I had paid for her electricity 3 months earlier. As dinner continued, my mom began subtly rearranging things. Can you move over? She asked my daughter. Your aunt needs more room. My daughter stood up, confused but obedient, sliding her chair closer to her brother. Something twisted inside me. My kids were never loud, messy, or disrespectful. They were simply there. Halfway through the meal, my mom put down her fork and cleared her throat. I think it might be best if you take the kids home, she said slowly. The room fell silent. My son froze mid-bite, gravy dripping from his fork. What? I asked quietly. My mom didn't look away. Your sister needs peace tonight. You're always so tense. And the kids, well, they add to it. They're eating dinner, I said, stunned. My sister finally spoke, eyes still on her plate. I can't handle chaos right now. I need calm. My kids looked at me, confused and waiting. You want us to leave? I asked. My mom nodded as if this was reasonable. It's Christmas. We don't want conflict. I stood slowly, my legs shaking. Did my kids do something wrong? I asked. My mom sighed. No, but what? I pressed. She hesitated, then said the words that burned. Your sister deserves it more. That was it. That sentence made everything suddenly clear. I gathered coats, gloves, and shoes. My daughter whispered, Mom, are we in trouble? No, I replied quickly. You didn't do anything wrong. At the door, my mom didn't hug the kids. She just closed the door. By the time we reached the porch, the snow had picked up. The wind cut through our coats, sharp and biting. My kids huddled close to me, confused and silent. No one followed us. No one called us back. I drove home in silence, the heater blasting, my kids staring out the window as lights blurred past. At home, I reheated leftovers, forced a smile, read bedtime stories, and kissed their foreheads. When the house was finally quiet, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. That's when my exhaustion turned into clarity. I pulled up my bank statements. Payment after payment after payment, mortgage, truck loan, utilities, all necessary. I realized something that made my hands shake. I wasn't helping them survive, I was propping them up, and they still chose my sister. Outside, the snowstorm intensified, wind howling against the windows, ice tapping on the glass. I hovered over the screen, staring at the total, $22,000. That was the cost of being invisible. One by one, I began canceling payments. I didn't slam the laptop shut. I didn't cry. I just stopped. What happened next? Amid the canceled payments, the snowstorm, and my family's sudden realization, changed every relationship forever. The snowstorm didn't let up that night. If anything, it grew louder, angrier, with wind rattling the windows and snow piling against the doors, the world outside disappearing into white. I sat at the kitchen table long after my kids were asleep, the house quiet, my laptop closed but still warm from where my hands had rested. I expected guilt. That's what I had been trained to feel. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar, relief. Not happiness, not triumph, just relief. The kind that comes when you finally stop holding something that was never meant to be yours alone. The calls began early the next morning. I watched my phone light up while making breakfast for my kids, pretending everything was normal. My mom, then my dad, then my sister, over and over. I didn't answer, not out of cruelty, but because for once, I wasn't going to rush in and fix things before anyone had to face the consequences of their choices. By noon, my sister finally texted, "What did you do?" I replied simply, "I went home." That wasn't enough for her. She called immediately. "Do you have any idea what's happening over here?" She snapped, panic in her voice. The mortgage payment didn't go through. The truck loan bounced. The power company called twice. I stared out the window at the snow drifts climbing higher against the fence. "Yes," I said calmly. "I know. You can't just stop helping," she insisted. "They need that money." "So do my kids," I replied. "They need respect." She scoffed. "You're really going to do this over Christmas dinner?" I closed my eyes. "No," I said quietly. "I'm doing this over years." Silence. She tried a different approach. "You know how fragile Mom is," she said. "Dad's pride, the stress, the storm. And yet," I interrupted, "you watched my children get sent out into it." She didn't respond because she couldn't. "You didn't stand up for them," I continued. "You didn't even look at them." Her voice hardened. "They'll get over it." That sentence sealed everything. "No," I said, "but I won't." She hung up. The next call was from my mother. I answered that one. Her voice was shaking. "Why would you do this to us?" she cried. "We're stuck. The roads are closed. The heat's barely working." "You threw my kids out into a snowstorm," I said evenly. "On Christmas." "That's not the same," she argued weakly. "How?" I asked. She hesitated. "I was overwhelmed," she finally admitted. "So was I replied. "Every time I covered your bills, my dad took the phone." "You embarrassed your mother," he said flatly. "You've gone too far." "You humiliated my children," I replied. "You slammed the door on them." "They didn't mean anything by it," he said. "They meant exactly what they said," I replied. He went quiet. Outside, the wind screamed. That night, the power went out at their house. Then the heat. The storm didn't care about family dynamics, and neither did the electric company. Over the next few days, calls came from aunts, uncles, and cousins. At first confused, then uncomfortable, then carefully apologetic. "Your parents asked us for help," one aunt admitted. "We didn't know you were paying everything." I told the truth, calmly, not dramatically. I was covering the mortgage, the truck loan, utilities, groceries. I stopped. That was all. The silence on the other end told me everything. People had assumed my parents were managing. They weren't. They were surviving on my silence. 3 days later, my parents showed up at my door. The storm had eased, but snow still clung to their coats and hair. They didn't knock the way they used to. It was a careful knock. I didn't invite them inside. My mom looked smaller than I remembered, older, tired in a way that no amount of denial could hide. "We need help," she said quietly. I thought of my kids standing on their porch, snow soaking through their shoes. "I already helped," I replied. My dad swallowed hard. "We didn't mean to hurt them." "But you did," I said, "and you justified it." My mom nodded slowly. "We were wrong." It wasn't an apology, but it was the first honest sentence I'd heard from her in years. I didn't restart the payments immediately. I set rules. Direct payments only, no cash, no favoritism ever, no comments, jokes, or comparisons involving my kids. And one final condition: if my children were ever made to feel unwanted again, the help would end permanently. No warnings, no second chances. They agreed. Not gratefully, not happily, but because they finally understood something they never had before. I was not obligated. Weeks passed. The snow melted, and life settled into a new rhythm. My kids changed first. They stopped apologizing for small things, stopped checking my face before speaking, stopped shrinking themselves in rooms. That alone was worth everything. My parents changed more slowly. They called before asking, listened instead of deciding, and apologized awkwardly, imperfectly but sincerely. My sister remained distant, which was okay. Not everyone grows when faced with consequences. I didn't cancel those payments to punish anyone. I canceled them because love that demands silence isn't love. It's control. And because children learn their worth by observing what adults tolerate on their behalf. That Christmas, my kids learned something important. They come first. And for the first time in my life, so did I. If someone benefits from your sacrifice while dismissing your pain, they don't respect you. They depend on you. Children remember who protected them. They remember who didn't. Choose them first. The rest will adjust or reveal themselves. That's all for today's story. Stay tuned for more powerful, real-life inspired tales. Thanks for watching.